Hi Len, and thank you for welcoming us into your home today.
It's a pleasure.
Now, the Yukos Hall dances brought many couples together that are still together today. Do you think that's because the dances were one of the few places where young people could meet, or do you think there was something special about those dances?
Probably a very interesting question, actually, because there were a few couples that did get together, and I think I mentioned when was it Erica rung up, the Lulich, Vic Lulich and his wife Gay. Lovely name, Gay, been ruined through the times we lived through. But they were a young couple, and I think that sort of brought them closer. And just recently it came to mind, Nick Poser and his wife, she just died. I think funeral was only about a week ago or earlier this week. And they were both used to dance in the Kola, but the Kola was another sort of offshoot of getting things together. Years ago, you see, there was an old club there, the Frank Nola. That's all before my time, but they obviously had a Tamburton orchestra, and they used to meet. And I can remember as a kid actually going with my father, I think. It's where Seeker's Scene is now.
Oh yes.
There was actually a sort of a club room there. I suppose they rented it, and then it sort of falls off. Same as many other clubs. There were several other clubs, but in my memory, there were two or three, but they would fizzle. A couple of instances there probably got a bit too political, because once you get into Balkan politics, you get into some very serious stuff, which goes back to the time of the Turks and Ottomans.
What's one of your fondest memories of dances at the Yukos Hall?
So fondest memories was, meeting nice people in nice places. That would be fondest memories. Certainly one of the fondest memories is the actual opening. There's a lot of work went into that building, of course. What was really helpful and typical community spirit, someone would give some money, somebody had a block of land somewhere that had timber on it, and go and help yourself. They'd cut the timber, and there'd be a working group go out, cut the timber, and then get it sawn up and treated. Out of Voca Way there, what was the name of that family? And they had a block there, but it had Turairi logs on it, and they got cut, and the whole floor of the Dally Hall was made from Turairi, which is a very good timber and supposedly very good for dancing on. And a few other things. And I was involved in politics and that as well. But I was just on the verge of that. I was interested in that sort of thing. And then when the Minister of Internal Affairs came to Dargaville once, I suggested that they're giving money out to everybody. Let's go along and set up a deputation and go and ask him. So did. Went along. I think it was about in what used to be municipal chambers there. What is it now? It used to be the library, isn't it? What is it now? Picture theatre. Yeah. And went and saw Sid Smith, who was the Minister of Internal Affairs. Told him the story. Oh, he didn't know anything about it. He said, well, come on, get in the car and we'll take you down. And we took him down. And I think George was laying the floor, and and he was quite impressed. And I think he gave us about £280 in those days.
Would have been a fortune.
It was a lot, but I was interested. I found the old paper, which I kept from that time. I think in the same paper, I think he gave the Paparoa Hall, but it was a Paparoa Memorial Hall. He gave them 300.
No. So Kola dancing is still going today. What's the strength in the community, do you think, that keeps it going?
What's the strength in it? It's you might just have a little bit of Dally blood somewhere in there, and I want to do that. And really, the fascinating thing to me is you see more of that culture here than you see over there. I've been there 8 times. Yes. And I think in 1980, when I suddenly decided I wanted to see where my parents came from, there was nothing. No, I sort of thought, somewhere even where there'd be somebody that could play a tamburica in this village where my parents came in. There wasn't a soul like that. They played rock and roll. They played all the music that everybody else did. And it wasn't until we went on a trip. We hired a car and went on a trip. And there was a marriage taking place somewhere in this little place. I can't even remember the name of it. And we stopped. And somebody got out and they sprinkled sprinkled lollies around, bonbons they call them, for the kids. And they were a lovely young couple. They were shy and scared, the couple that were married. It always intrigued me. And the groom had this wooden bottle, just like that little bottle up there, but not coloured like that. But it was sort of wooden. And it reminded me of a cowboy's water bottle. And it was full of the toughest sort of rakia, I think it was, plum brandy or something, handed around. And, I felt my duty to have a sip at least. And that was the sole bit of culture that in 1980.
What do you think helps to keep the tradition alive here in Dargaville?
The stories, I suppose, that the old people told them, and then that there's a friend of mine, Len Lulich in Dargaville here. He and I see a fair bit of one another. We often chat about some of the things that our parents used to tell us. And there's the odd story that I can remember my father telling me, and I used to think, that's an exaggeration there. Yeah. And he and I might be talking. The next thing Len starts to tell me a story. Something my old man told me. And it's the same story. How
long were you president for?
3 years. From about, I think it must have been about 50, probably about 1958. I remember those 50s well because we were married in 56.
And what was a special moment for you from your time as president?
Probably the completion of the hall had been completed. Functions, and we used to run a Yugoslav ball every year, and had it at the town hall. I think maybe we actually, in fact, I came across an article there where the town hall, we ran a ball at the Yugoslav hall, and profits donated to the town hall committee. They were building the town hall. I'm president, you get up and speak, welcome everybody, that sort of thing, yeah. My wife probably thought, oh, God.
Here we go again.
But never mind, she was really great. She was very sympathetic. Yeah, that's an interesting point too, because I remember some of the early kola dancing teachers. And I can remember Milan Jakic's wife, Desma. Lovely lady, she was in Delhi. I think she was a Auckland Jaffa, I think. And they lived here for some years. She actually liked dancing in the kola. My son Paul used to always reckon it was the best rugby training he ever had.
I'm sure.
Fairly athletic. And she actually became one of the teachers, and one of the most well-known and liked teachers, I believe, and did a good job.
Thanks again, Len, for welcoming us into your home today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Believe you me, the pleasure's mine. Thank you very much for coming and asking.